Welcome to Cartoonist by Night. I'm Anthony. I am joined here by Troy. How's it going, sir?
Good. How are you, Anthony?
I am doing excellent. This is another dynamic duo. We've done one of these before with you and I.
We
Uh,
have.
and I think I have one with Rogers that has yet to be released at the time of this recording, but the fans have already seen that one. Or if you haven't, they can just go back and check it out. But yes, for people just stumbling upon this is a dynamic duo in which two of our four members of Cartoonist by Night are here to hang out, and that means we get to draw anything we want and talk about anything we want. The last time Troy and I specifically hung out, there was a lot of Dennis the Menace talk. I forget how that how that originated, but that's the beauty of these kind of episodes because we just really went hard on that topic for a while. So,
Yeah.
but yes, here we are going to hang out and we're going to kick back and talk and draw. Do you have any idea what you're going to tackle tonight? You've got a blank slate in front of you. More
Dennis the Menace once again. No, I don't. I have no idea. I was I was thinking. As we're recording, it's about a week past John Romita Sr.'s passing. But I can't. I think Spider-Man is its own episode.
yeah.
So, and I can't exactly draw anything close to what he would do. So, that was a thought that I had, but maybe we could talk briefly about that or save that for a Spider-Man episode. But let's see. Pink Lemonade's trade paperback just came out. Nick Cagnetti's thing. That's pretty wonderful.
Yes, yes.
As of this recording, you just released the Archie episode, and I got to watch it last night. And there's a spot where I mention that I had a comic in the grocery store cart, and I put it back. Well, today I bought it.
Hey, look at that.
Still there. So, Cartoonist by Night influencing my purchasing.
Look at that. We're already changing the world and changing the industry and
Affecting my ability to buy vegetables at the grocery store because I gotta
hey,
buy the. I mean, it's priorities. It's broccoli or cartoons.
yeah. Two very essential things, but I think you made the right choice this time. But yeah,
Oh, and it has an ad for the Archies, the movie that you guys were discussing on there.
beautiful, man. Yeah, everything. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of good advertising. I'm seeing that poster show up a lot in a lot of the newer Archie single issues as well. So it's
Uh huh.
exciting. We do have somewhat of an actual trailer that's pretty fun that's out there, and then right now I think it's just slated for later this year. I'm guessing fall, early winter, anywhere that September to November time frame, but we'll see.
Sure.
But yeah, so with all this, you got some Dennis the Menace, you got some Archie. You're talking about Spider-Man. Does that start to fuel the fire on where the pen's going to take you in this episode?
Nope.
Honestly, it's one of those.
How about you?
I've known you enough now with doing a couple of these that I knew I was going to get that answer. So yeah, while you'd make that decision, I am going through and I've been sharing my journey with the sketch cards, and I recently got a binder and
Oh,
started
cool.
to slap some of these cards into the sheets. These are the ones that I plan to sell exclusively at Mighty Con in Milwaukee. They'll be coming up September 2nd, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And
Uh huh.
as I did these, I think I maybe talked about the process in our Dynamic 200 episode where I drew Dr. Teeth. And I talked about I would do the digital pencils to kind of get myself an outline, kind of help guide me, and then I would use my digital drawing to map out my sketch card drawing. And
Mhm.
as you see, I did all of the 6 members of the Electric Mayhem. And then
Mhm.
I decided that, hey, I have all these digital pencils that are just sitting on the iPad. So anytime we do these random episodes, I at least have something I can go back. So I'm going to choose one of the Muppets again to dive into because I haven't touched that in a couple months. So,
Okay,
but yeah, I just got to
that'll
make the
work.
decision. I've got Janice, I got Floyd Pepper, I got Zoot, I got Lips and Animal. So I got to make the decision on which one I'm in the mood for. What's kind of fun is that I brought these out so I could also use as a reference. So I don't have to Google it and be like, hey, I'll just look at my sketch card art as my reference as I ink and
Right.
color. So, you know,
You
I'm going to
at the
go.
bottom of that page that you just showed, you have a spider ham
Yes.
on there. Yeah, that one's pretty good too. Oh, and the what do you call it? The
The Elementals.
elementals. There you go. I couldn't
Yes.
think of the name of it.
Yep. The lead characters from the recent Pixar movie, which I absolutely adored. That was
Yeah.
my, now when going into movies, coming out of movies rather, to kind of judge on how much I loved the movie was always based on if I run to a Target, if I run to a Walmart, run down the toy aisle and see what toys I could buy from that movie. That's usually
Mhm.
like my first like instinct being like, I'm super excited about this. I got to go buy a toy. If I don't see the
Mhm.
toy, I jump onto Amazon, entertainmentearth.com, something like that. And I'm like, I got to get a toy of this because I love the movie so much. But this is
Mhm.
the first time that after seeing a movie, since reigniting this drawing hobby, that I'm like, I want to go home and draw these characters rather than go to the store and buy the characters. So I did those right after I saw the movie. And yeah, so that was just birthed out of the excitement of really enjoying that film. So,
Very cool.
all
Very
right,
cool. And you saw the new Indiana Jones already?
I did, yes.
So we were going to this afternoon watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
All right.
and with that one, it would have been that was the last one that the kids would have needed. Well, not both kids. My daughter noped right out of Last Crusade, but we were looking at hoping to see that. I didn't want to purchase it, and we don't have Disney Plus, but it was on one like Freevee or Tubi or something like that. Like 2 days ago, it was free with ads on there, and today it wasn't. So, do we need to see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to get? Now, I've seen it,
Yeah.
um, but the kids have not. To enjoy the new one, do they need to see that one?
I'm gonna say no there without going into details because A, you haven't seen the new one yet, and then for anybody watching, even though this could be, a month or 2 months from now that they'll see this,
Sure.
but I like to keep spoiler free because it probably wouldn't be on Disney Plus yet, anyways. Um, there is a small moment. It's based on some emotional reactions and a little bit of plot. There's some elements of Crystal Skull that they reflect on. But I don't think anyone's going to be any. That would just be a moment where Dad leans over and explains it for like 5 seconds and just say, "Oh, this is what this means." But
Okay.
there's nothing really. Just because what's so crazy? I was just talking to a friend about this. Is that when that movie came out in 2008, I remember a lot of people just being like, "He's playing Indiana Jones at this age, like at that old age." That was 15 years ago. 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and he's now back doing it again. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of funny how like I remember people just being like, "Whoa, really?" And then now 15 years later, it's just happened again. Um,
Yeah.
having
They
said
better not do it in another 15 years. That's going to
no,
be really, really awkward. He'll have a walker.
yeah, yeah, there's definitely a lot of jokes when they announced this with the Disney purchasing Lucasfilm and all that stuff in 2015, where they people would say, "Hey, we're doing another Indiana Jones movie." So then people are like, "Indiana Jones and the Nursing Home of Doom" or something, like a lot of that stuff started happening. Now, having said that, I really love the film. Matt Rogers from Cartoonist by Night here also really enjoyed it. Um, Compared to Crystal Skull, which I did enjoy, which a lot of people didn't overall. I like
Mhm.
this one a lot better than Crystal Skull, so I'll say that for
Mhm.
anyone that's, you know, on the fence about an old Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I think I'd like to see it. You know, they have them on Amazon for sale, like $5 digital. So, like the rental through Amazon Video is $4, or you can purchase it right now for $5. It's kind of a no-brainer to me as far as which way to go if you want to see it.
I have incredible fun with all of them. Although I do, I am very positive about movies just because there's not much I dislike. But
Hmm.
I always throw that out there that my excitement for a movie may not always be the best, opinion to go off of, just because I do like a lot more stuff. But
Hmm.
having said that, I will go back to theater again, so to
Cool.
see to see that movie and other movies. Okay, so every time I hit the old share screen, it wants me to download something here, so I'm trying to bring up. I think it's popping up now. All right, to dive into the drawing portion of this show. I think we're still waiting on your end here.
So, I don't. Maybe this is a future Anthony thing. I saw nothing
Yep,
um,
you're
when
like
you did
Colonel.
that.
You're like Colonel Clink on Hogan's Heroes. I see
I see
nothing.
nothing.
That's a reference. Um, so what I was trying to explain is that okay, now I think it's going to pop up. It wanted me to
Yeah.
re-download a plugin or something, and it took like literally 2 seconds. So here we are. This is what I'm going to work
Yes.
on. I did the. You should still be able to see, the viewer at home should still see my video box over here, and I'm holding up the sketch card that I did. But my art skill is a little more. I would say I'm more comfortable with digital art, so I'm excited to transform this into some digital art with Janice. So during all of this talking, I think I answered your question about Indiana Jones, or I think you're good to just jump in, and all it's going to take is a little dad moment to say, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and then you're fine. Um, During all of this, have you been inspired to figure out what you're going to draw yet?
No. Um, I'll just start doodling. Something will happen.
That seems to be the tunes by Troy way. Just kind of starting with. I think he did that with one of the forget what it was, but just kind of starting with a. Oh yeah, I think it was when you did the Chama drawing,
Oh, yeah.
which that episode should be out there for everyone to check out. Um, but yeah, you had just started, I think, just with the female figure, just drawing a face, and then in that
Uh-huh.
moment, you just went to one of your characters from Jungle Drama, which will be out in August. Oh, you know what? You know what I confused it with?
Kid slap shot.
Rebel Girls.
Ah,
You did a cover for Rebel Girls, right?
I did a cover, and also Danny Harrell, the creator and writer of Rebel Girls, is working with me on Jungle Drama. So
Oh,
that is
so
an understandable mistake. And I think
yeah,
the more people that confuse Jungle Drama with Rebel Girls and buy Jungle Drama, the happier I'm going to be. So I'm counting on people confusing his awesomeness with this comic and purchasing it.
well, it's yeah. I'm glad I got that answer, and yep, that's definitely. Once I saw Rebel Girls on my Keen Spot category in my pre-order list, that right away I'm just like, yep, that's what I thought. So
Rebel Girls is a very cool concept.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Let's see. I'm going to play around with one of my, what do you call it? One of my fountain pens.
Okay.
All right. USB camera. Slide over.
You see the transition over to your side there as I kind of backed off of mine for a moment here. I kind of go back and forth. Yeah, it's quite interesting using my own physical reference that I drew as a reference as I'm drawing digitally. It's kind of a weird experience. Usually I'm just looking at like a Google image, a couple Google images of the characters, and here I am just looking at my own past Anthony stuff.
I am going to do a quick background drawing just because it's less stressful that way. Oh, and I still don't know what I'm drawing. Good Lord, Troy. Come on, come on. What are you drawing, Troy? Gosh.
Where's our drawing, Troy? It's this is actually a great segue for something that you discussed in our thread. It's the reason behind the shirt that I picked for our recording tonight. I went to the closet being like, what should I wear? And I'm like, you know what? I'll wear Wolverine because you recently drew Wolverine, and you had kind of discussed, just kind of being maybe in a rut with drawing and just kind of not feeling it, and then
Yep.
and then you unleashed that Wolverine drawing on us, and we're just like, man, that was awesome. So you want to talk about that? Yes.
Yeah, that felt really good. I'm going to switch over to regular camera. Yeah, that felt really good to break out of a slump. And I think, we had mentioned jungle drama, and I've been trying to. I guess the last artwork that I was doing for that. I don't do the majority of the artwork in it, but I had some pinups in there and a poster, and I did a cover. I had inked a cover. I colored another cover. So I did a lot on that project, and it was so far outside of my comfort zone as far as style is concerned. And I was after I had finished working on the art creation that I needed to do, I was thinking, it'd be cool for conventions to have like an exclusive cover. And so I spent weeks trying to figure out how to make an exclusive cover for myself of it. That's something that only I would have at conventions. Because I see artists like Scotty Young, and I think I've seen what's his name, J. Scott Campbell. These big name artists. And obviously I'm not one of them, but it's always cool that they have a cover that you can only get from like them at a convention or their website. And so I was really, really racking my, pushing myself way so far out of my comfort level that I felt like I didn't even know where to begin. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make anything look the way that I wanted it to look. And I kind of got into a rut, and then, grabbed that iPad one day and just not even knowing what I was going to draw that day. And I drew the Wolverine one that you're referring to. And I felt like that was a good rut buster. So,
Yeah, and
but also it's like very much in my comfort level as far as like the style and everything too.
yeah, it definitely fit, the character, and especially with a character that's a shorter stature and kind of a blocky builder. It really fit to your style and design. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like that drawing.
and people did see it here. Post Anthony will have already put that up when I brought it up, so people did get a look at what that is.
Ooh, Ooh. All right, I'm gonna switch back over. I'm, I was about to say I'm just gonna draw Batman, but I think maybe we'll do a Batman show at some point, and I wish that I didn't draw Batman. Or is there enough Batman to go around? Could draw Captain America. I could draw. I'd need to look up reference, but I could draw Destroyer Duck. That would be cool.
There you go.
You're a Howard the Duck fan.
That I am. Yeah, he's Howard is one of those that I have yet to actually draw, and I know that it's gonna happen soon. Probably a sketch card. I'd want to buy a sketch card, or draw a sketch card of Howard the Duck. So I know that's in my future sometime. I just haven't. I'm just waiting for that day when I wake up and I'm like, today's Howard's day. So, but actually today is Janice's day. That's what I'm saying. So
What is that?
today is technically Janice's day because I'm drawing Janice right now. So
Okay, Janice's day.
yep.
All right, I'm just gonna start. We'll see what it turns into. I noticed on one of the other episodes that you posted that when I draw with a blue pencil, it is completely invisible on the screen. So I'm going to erase the pencil line. With the blue pencil, I usually just leave it in the artwork, but I'm going to use a light gray pencil, and then I'll erase it later.
Yeah, there's a couple times in editing where I see you start, so then in post I can go ahead and zoom in on your screen. And there's been a couple times I've noticed that where I'm like, okay, I'll zoom in when there's a little more thickness thrown down on the page. Yeah, feels kind of fun jumping back into like I'm at a point with my art where I have so much stuff going on, so there are a couple projects that are just waiting to be finished that I just because I had to put pause on it because we did an episode for this, or I'm working on this, or a birthday gift for this person, blah blah blah. And whereas a year ago, every time I drew something, I just finished that drawing. I'd never really kind of, if I struggled with it, I'd just return to that one. I wouldn't start over. I would start something new. I'd never let anything linger. So I say all that because it's fun now to return to the Muppets because I mean, that show came out in what, April, maybe March? April, I think. The Muppets Mayhem, or beginning of May, I forget when, but it's been a couple months. And so looking through my pencil drawings on my iPad, and it felt pretty good being like, oh yeah, I gotta do the digital version of these Muppets here. So it was exciting to kind of remember that, hey, I gotta do this yet. Not that I don't have to do it, I get to do it.
There you go.
Because I could have very easily just drawn anything else. But I'm like, you know what? I get to draw Janice. For sure.
So you mentioned Mighty Con
Yes.
a little while ago. Yesterday, I was looking at the Amtrak website, and they do not have, other than me like trying to finagle some weird route, they don't have a straightforward way for me to not drive and get there without me having to be like, yo, Anthony, let me sleep on your sofa for 2 weeks and take 2 weeks worth of vacation time.
Yeah, it turns into yeah. Yeah, I'm still deciding. I'd like to go to Cincinnati Con, where Matt Rogers and Matt Fife are going to be at for Happy Astronaut, which Happy Astronaut #1 will be out at that time. So that'll be an exciting moment. That's at the end of September. Mighty Con's the beginning of September, but I've been looking up the travel plans because I would love to show up there. Plus, most of the Oh Yeah guys, if not all of them, are going to be there. But that's doing the mapping out and doing all that travel planning, I feel you. So
Yeah. So I'm not ignoring my drawing screen. I'm looking up pictures of Destroyer Duck.
mhm.
So I have one Destroyer Duck comic, and it's because it's the first appearance of Gru, and I'm a big Gru fan.
Oh,
Sergio Aragone's Gru, not Gru from
from
uh,
Minions.
what is it? The Minions movies. Although he is pretty great too.
Yeah, he's good.
I'm seeing a lot of different variations on Destroyer Duck. Like there's one where he's got a metal arm. Seems like there's takes on this little guy. And you know what that means? It means I can do whatever I want.
That it does.
Isn't that what that means?
I think that's exactly what that means.
All right, let's see. Grab my pencil. I did the duck bill really awkwardly. Not my pencil, my eraser. And then I'm just going to start noodling away.
Yeah, it's been exciting to get some of the feedback for the episodes with you, not only from you after having seen it. It was fun to edit it because we had recorded it months ago, and based on our priorities and all the other stuff, like we've definitely been doing more than I think we all anticipated. Um, when we had started the show, it was just kind of talking about like, oh, right, do it, once a month would be a good schedule, and then before we knew it, we just had like several episodes and so many hours, and it's been exciting to kind of see how much we've been pulling off in a short amount of time. Which leads to me being making it exciting to go back to the episode. Like if I edited the Archie episode a day after we recorded it, it'd have been like, all right, I was just there yesterday and I remember all this and blah blah blah. But it was fun to actually go back and be like, oh yeah, this is what we talked about, and oh, it was entertaining to watch.
Cool. Yeah, when you enjoy your own product, that's a bonus.
Yeah,
I think.
agreed.
Let's see. I'm gonna give him what Rob Liefeld calls vacuum cleaner guns.
All right, explain.
And apologies to Rogers for mentioning Rob Liefeld without him here. All I can say is, like, you should have shown up, bro. That's all.
Somewhere Rogers is drawing a variant cover for a project, and suddenly he stopped. He felt a sharp pain. He kind of wondered what it was. He's not going to know until he sees this episode, being like, "That was the moment they talked about Liefeld without me."
Sorry, buddy.
Well, that's what he gets.
I'm also going to give him pockets where, like, there's really no need for pockets.
There you go.
And a weird shoulder pad thing, because why not? So you, on one of your other podcasts, the topic of Destroyer Duck came up. And it was
Probably Kirby.
trying to think. Kirby. So it was mentioned that he was done sort of as a, I guess like a retaliation. You know, I said I was going to use the fountain pen. I'm not going to, just because I have to wait between passes so long with the wet ink. I'm going to use a marker. This is a Zig Writer. They have, let's see, they have a thin part and then a part that's so fat it's almost useless. So it was done like in retaliation to him not being able to get the rights to Howard Duck. Who is that creator?
Steve Gerber?
Steve Gerber. So Jack Kirby is listed as a creator on the character as well. I wonder if that's like co-creator credit or, but I just happened to be looking at a Jack Kirby, you know, things that Jack Kirby has done, and Destroyer Duck was on the list.
Okay. Yeah,
Or that he has credit in creating. I'm sorry, not stuff he's just done.
okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if Howard was in a Google search will answer this, but I want to guess before I Googled. But I know he's had some early scenes with like Man Thing, so I'm trying to remember if it was in a Man Thing book or it had been one of those like Tales from Suspense Marvel 2-in-1s. I think that's where Howard first showed up. So I wonder if that's where the Kirby stuff comes in. If it was just part of an overall.
I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. Not Howard. Destroyer Duck
Oh, okay.
was credited to Kirby on that website that I was looking at.
Okay. Yeah, because Steve Gerber would be Howard and Destroyer. Probably, I would assume. But yeah, Then I don't know much about Destroyer Duck as far as the origins and creations and all that.
I mentioned that I had one issue. Embarrassingly, I've only read the Gru part at the very back of it. Never read the remainder of it. It's almost embarrassing.
Man, you're putting yourself on blast here.
I am.
I'm not going to edit that.
You know what? Sometimes, no, don't edit that out. Sometimes we need to put ourselves on blast.
I'm going to put Janice on blast by showing off where I'm at. I'm going to take away the pencils. So this is where I'm at with the inking stage here, just for getting all the outlines before I start going in with some details and, thickening up some lines where they need to be thickened up. But
Nice.
yeah, this is where I'm sitting so far. It's fun since I drew it on a small scale on the, I was looking being like, all right, how many fingers did I give her? And I'm not going back to see how many fingers Muppets have. So I'm just drawing them. So looks like on my sketch card. It looks like I did 4, but I went with 5 on the right hand there. But whoop, I still had that up there. Now you can see it. Yeah. Anyways,
Looks good.
thank you. Yeah, when I approached these Electric Mayhem ones, I searched for like bass guitarist, and I just looked at human images, and I would take poses from that rather than looking at an established pose of Janice and drawing her, from a screen cap from a movie or show or something. So I wanted to kind of try to lead myself down a way where I would come up with my own pose, or start with a human pose and then have to obviously adapt it to a Muppet. Now I'm gonna see if it shows up here on the smaller screen on my video screen, but On my, let me take away the pencils here. Let me change to a color here. So I remember that when I did the sketch card, and this was my second sketch card, I wouldn't have,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't have just went with it if I did it today. But um, let me just get to a color I can show off here. So the space between Janice and the guitar is right here. But on the sketch card, I definitely had a lot more space in between. So I extended her arms. I really tried to like fill out the card and not have too much blank space going on. But I just find that kind of funny that, I would have just simply, I should have just erased it and tried to like, all right. But I think I probably got too far into the guitar drawing without realizing how far away everything was. And then I just like, well, she's just going to have extra long Muppet arms. So,
I don't notice any weirdness about it though, Anthony.
no, it still fits, and I'm just noticing it, just being like, yep, there's definitely going back to it. I just remember I'm like, I probably just said like, crap. Well, I drew too much of the guitar. I'm not starting over. Long arms, it is. Mm.
I'm noticing something. I tried to erase this top so that I could work on it without the graphite kind of in the way and distorting what I was looking at.
Mhm.
And even though this ink dries pretty much right away, I'm still getting some smudges. And I'm thinking it's because I'm using this super, super cheap paper.
Okay.
And so this drawing may not be able to have the ink erased or the pencil erased underneath it without completely destroying
Well,
the ink.
without destroying the Destroyer Duck ink.
Right.
Maybe that could be part of an artistic approach to it where you do erase it and things get destroyed, but it was intentional because it's Destroyer Duck, and you wanted to get real deep into the art process and tell a story and pretend that you meant that the entire way through.
Nope.
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 I had a feeling the longer I dragged that out, I still wasn't gonna convince you.
I think what'll happen is I will learn my lesson and say, you know what, it's okay if the sketch part isn't seen on video.
Sure.
At least I'll have a finished product that looks decent.
For sure.
But it was a good thought.
And now, since I already gave Janice 5 fingers on her right hand, but on the sketch card and in my drawing, I gave her 4. So now I'm going to draw an extra finger in here. I think it got to the point when I was drawing at a really small scale on the sketch card. I'm just like, yep, we're just going 4 fingers today.
I'm impressed that you could draw that small.
It I yeah I It's been fun. I didn't really think about that, and the only reason I started that, because I love a lot of buying sketch cards and scooping them up at conventions over the last couple of years, and really finding a lot of love for purchasing those and seeing the skill that people have of working on that level. And I'll show off some examples soon because I have them right next to me. Um, but I mostly did it because of the small commitments. Since I mostly do the digital drawings, I didn't want to commit to larger pieces. And I'm like, well, if I draw on smaller paper, that's less I have to draw, and it's allows me to do a little more practice as I'm trying to do some physical stuff. But then it hit me just being like, oh, well, it's also really small, meaning I have to get pretty precise here. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with actually how I don't think there's, if I look back on my cards here, I don't think there was anything that I really hated. There's things that I could fix up in digital, but yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with all the ones I did on the small scale.
I feel like at a certain point you have to realize that you, in trying to, I guess, be less stressful for yourself on the artwork commitment or time commitment or whatever
Yeah,
whatever commitment level it is that you're referring to, you're actually doing a much more difficult process.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The what I think is a shortcut ends up being like, oh man, I'm challenging myself even more. But so far, I haven't really felt it. It's everything. Everything I've drawn on a sketch card has just been so fun, and there's some just being like, well, these are fine. This one's way better than this one, and this and that. And that's going to happen no matter what scale you draw. But
Sure.
I've been pretty. I posted everything I've drawn, so while there would be some being like, "Yeah, people don't need to see this one," but also I'm just like, "Yeah, people could see it. Who cares?" So as I have some of them here, I'm going to take a little break from inking because we're still talking about sketch cards. So ones I didn't put into the binder yet here. Um, Drew some Betty Cooper because after doing the Archie episode, the editing rather. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go ahead and just draw some Betty. And I went pretty freehand on this one. I actually looked at a picture of the actress Lily Reinhart from Riverdale to just get a pose and just get a whatever something to go off of. But I went mostly blind on just kind of remembering how these Archie women are drawn, and
Yeah.
definitely some stuff I would change. But I'm happy with how quick I turned that one out.
Archie's style is deceptively difficult.
Yeah, yeah, it's there's several people you can look at too, just the way whether it's a Dan Parent and like all the different Archie artists like bring their little flair to it while still capturing the recognizable, being like, hey, this is classic Archie, and then when you really
Yeah.
get into it, being like, oh wait, this is somebody else's compared to this and that. Like a lot of times, I could read Spider-Man, and unless it's a Jurassic, like a Scotty Young throwing in an issue of Spider-Man or something. But for most Spider-Man, it's very seamless, I think, where it's easy just to kind of, I don't know what I'm saying.
No, it's brand specific.
Yeah,
You're not going to have an artist that comes to fame on Archie comics and then builds an audience and leaves and takes it with them because the Archie style is required amongst all the artists. So
yeah,
it's like the Image guys back in the 90s from Marvel. They brought in their own distinct style. They built up this huge following, and then they left with it. And then Marvel seemed like they had almost clone-like style for a long time, where everybody sort of drew the exact same style. Like, okay, we learned our lesson. Well, pay attention. Archie Comics is older than you, man. That's why they're still around. But it's not ideal from a fan's perspective, I guess.
yeah.
I like to see more of the artists. I don't know the word I'm looking for here, Anthony. More of the artist preference shine through.
I hear you. Oh, we'll cut to this soon because I'm getting some notifications. I put out some feelers before we started this to possibly get some questions. Um,
Ooh,
But as I hold these sketch cards in my hand, I also drew a Beetle Bailey. He's my favorite comic strip character, your newspaper comic strip character, your Sunday funnies,
I
if you
like
will.
it.
So this one I went. What's and you may appreciate this. These last handful of sketch cards, I would say, in the last like week or two, I haven't been doing the digital version on the iPad to kind of feel out my pose. I had just been going right to the blank sketch card. Um, so people,
Freehand or freestyle.
yes, freestyle. So I just trusted, and this time I don't really draw cars, and I just dropped it enough on a small scale to, it didn't have to draw too much of a Jeep, but still, it's a car. It's a
Right.
vehicle, I should say. So yeah, I threw Beetle Bailey driving a Jeep and doing what Beetle Bailey does best, which is sleeping and just nesting himself up against the wheel. And that was a fun little one. And then
Sleeping on the job.
that's right. Um, and then stuck with. I'm gonna have to buy some new green colored pencils soon because I've been doing a lot of green. And here is another creature, but I wanted to call this one the catcher from the Black Lagoon, as I have him in a baseball catcher pose. I will reveal that I meant to actually draw the catcher's mask over the creature, but I could
Uh-huh.
I could not commit because I did this and I liked it so much, and I'm like, I don't know. Digitally, obviously, I can just start a new layer and have fun and be like, hey, look, it worked. And maybe I'll do that someday. But I like this one
I
too much where I'm like, I'm not gonna risk it and screw it up. So
I love your Creature of the Black Lagoon stuff. That for the longest time has been my favorite of the Universal monster movies.
mhm.
And it seems to be the one most in need of a remake.
Oh yeah.
And they never they do Dracula again and again and again, Frankenstein
Yeah.
again and again and again. Never do they do the creature. And I know he looks a little bit silly, but I mean, the what's the designer that did the Species? Geiger, H.R. Geiger.
Okay.
Can you imagine getting somebody like that on designing the creature? Be like, stick with the basic spirit of the creature,
Yeah.
but do your thing. You know, that would be so cool.
The Guillermo del Toro's um, The Shape of
Shape of
Water.
Water.
Shape of Water. Yep.
Uh,
Love love that movie so much, and Doug Jones playing another aquatic creature. There's definitely moments of that going into that movie, just being like, is this like a backdoor ape sapien like spin-off origin story or something? Because
huh.
like all of I remember that being a discussion, and as I re-listened to my favorite podcast, Freedom, they were talking about The Shape of Water, and Paul F. Tompkins was explaining it just by saying, "Well, it's about the apes," and he was saying this seriously, the ape sapien character from the Hellboy comics and the movies. And then Scott Ackerman kind of stopped, and he's like, "No, it's not." And he's like, yes, it is." And he's like, "No, no, actually, it's not." He's like, "Wait." And this is my favorite part, is why I mentioned it. He goes, "So Doug Jones is just playing another Fishman? He's
Yeah,
playing, he's playing a completely
pretty much.
he's playing a completely different Fishman." They're like, "Yeah, it
I,
has
di-
nothing to do with it."
I didn't realize it was the same actor that did Abe Sapien.
Yeah, so Doug Jones and Guillermo del Toro working together, and but I absolutely adore The Shape of Water, and you would think like with that, we've got one Aquaman movie out there, the second one on its way. We've seen Namor in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. Like
Yeah,
everybody's questioning, technology and water and blah blah blah. Like I think we are due, like you said, we are overdue for a creature remake. So
here, here.
a cremake, if you will. Um, or if you won't. Here's another one, just because you mentioned it, but I did the peaceful creature from the Black Lagoon, drawn
Nice.
drawn exclusively at Oh Yeah Comics in beautiful downtown Skokie. But yep. So, anyways,
Cool. When I was in college, we had to do a movie poster, and I did Creature from the Black Lagoon movie poster, but I wanted it to be kind of modernized, but I couldn't think of a way to do that, like keeping the same spirit of the monster. And so I just had just the tip of his head and his eyes coming out of the water, the moonlight shining on him. So the missing link isn't what you think. Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I can't even remember, like Julie Adams, and then there was the guy's name, the male actor, I don't recall. But, I had all their names on there and everything. It was fun.
now, just because we keep talking about the Creech, I might as well throw this up when we talked about the Archie episode. But if you missed that episode, here is the finished Creature from the Betty Lagoon, thanks to an awesome title idea from David Gloyd from Crimson Cowl Media, who invited me to table with him for Mighty Con in Milwaukee. So that is the reason why I'm going to be there. I would never probably have gotten to the point of saying, hey, I'm going to go get a table somewhere. But he reached out to me and said he had some space. And I'm like, you know what? I'll go there and advertise the Crimson Cowl Comic Club as well as Cartoonist by Night. And then the idea started rolling about making sketch cards to sell there too.
Is David still retailing in retail?
No, so as far as just Crimson or just retail in general?
Just in general, because you said he was, you're going to be joining up with him at his table.
So Crimson Cowl, after the unfortunate closing of the storefront right before COVID, which ended up being a good decision, because if they would have renewed the lease for another year, it was like a month later COVID happened, so that would have the time, while it sucked, it ended up working out for the best. That was the decision, the hard decision that was made. So
Sure.
while he did have a buyer come through and scoop up, I think, the majority of the inventory, which really helped, he held some summer rummage sales, and to kind of just try to get some of that merchandise out of the basement and out of the house and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he still has some inventory. So the plan for Mighty Con is being represented as Crimson Cowl Media, where he is selling leftover trade paperbacks and merchandise and comics and whatever he's got yet. So he'll actually have comics and merch to sell, and then brought me on board to help advertise with the comic club. And I'm like, hey, I could be there to advertise Cartoonist by Night. And then he's been picking up drawing again, and we've all just been kind of doing that. So we're gonna have some art there too. So anyways, long story short, Mighty Con, September 2nd in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was talking with Eric Wolfgang, awesome artist who I met through the Oh Yeah channels, and he's been super cool. And him and I have had an online friendship, and we were talking about the convention, and he was just kind of like talking about like, oh, just get ready to, still have fun, but you're engaging with the people. And I kind of stopped and being like, oh, I have no when it comes to the people interaction and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, all that's in the bag for me. I've been in customer service for a quarter of a century. All that kind of stuff, zero worry. I talked about being like, it would be very interesting throwing my art on a table and putting a price tag on it and just kind of seeing the reaction. That's the part.
Right.
That's the part that feels weird. Just to kind of, not in a nervous like, oh, I don't deserve this, or this is gonna go bad, or I suck. none of that. It's more just like I'm curious to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
What are people gonna? I told family and friends that had asked about it when I started doing the sketch cards. I may have talked about this where I'm just like, if you come to the show, obviously I appreciate it, and I'm gonna have some prints and hopefully some stickers and fun stuff, and they're encouraged to buy whatever they want to buy. But I'm like, if it's a sketch card, I'm asking them not to purchase any because I literally am drawing these so I could have something to see to test the waters and see if anybody actually cares about it. And
Right.
while I appreciate the eagerness and if they would, and I'm like, oh, nobody buys them. Hey, you can buy as many as you want. But I also am just doing all this just so I actually have inventory of something. Um,
Sure.
Plus, the cartoonist by night is on the
You
back.
know, it's
Go ahead.
yeah, and you may end up seeing that one convention will be wildly successful, and then the exact same stuff at
Yep.
another convention gets zero interest whatsoever.
Yep. So basically, don't this. Here's the perfect. That's great advice, and I just had a great analogy with it. When I had turned 21, and my mother likes going gambling, so I would take her on some gambling trips and take along her sister, my aunt, uh, and I got the first time that I went gambling, just played slot machines. It was for a Weird Al concert. I'm actually going to
Hmm.
start drawing again as I'm realizing that I'm just not in podcast mode right now. I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing a drawing trip. Uh, I get excited and they're telling stories, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could
I mean,
also
you did say Weird Al, so I mean, it's understandable that you would geek out a little bit.
exactly lose train of thought and all that stuff. So Weird Al was playing at a casino, and it was one that you had to be 21 and over to get into the actual show because of or 18 and over. I forget what it is.
Hmm.
Um, and I had just turned uh, the age to be able to go in, and and it was fun to go there because we're like, hey, I just got old enough to go gambling. I might as well I'll throw $10 into the slot machine or whatever it was, and in a very short amount of time, I think it was like I want to say it was like $350 or something that I won in like the first like it happened really quick and like the machine was just going and I didn't know what I had hit and I'm looking around and my buddy was with me and he's just like I think you won big and I'm like I don't know there's just a lot of noise and then people started like coming over because whenever somebody's winning and there's activity going on everybody's like like there's an accident inside the road and everybody's looking to see what's going on and and I just go, oh yeah, this is my first time doing it. I don't even know what, and I'm just acting dumb. And they're probably like, we just spent our entire month's salary and we've been here all weekend. I'm like, I'm just
Follow him out to his car afterwards.
yeah
Get
yeah
him, boys.
yeah. I think it was like 375. I think it ended up being something like that. Uh, and so I was with my buddy and his brother, and I'm just like, well, guys, nachos on me before the concert. And they're like, hey, yeah, free nachos. Um, so, anyways, I went to that and hit big on that first one. And then when I took my mother and aunt, and I kept winning and winning and winning. And I was very good with stopping. I just won a chunk, and I'm like, all right, I'm going up to the room, whatever. And I brought some comics with. I'm going to go read or something like that. And,
Right.
one of the times I won some, so I bought a Battlestar Galactica toaster, which was seen
Uh-huh.
on The Big Bang Theory. And I'm like, hey, I always wanted that item. I'm like, hey, I just want a chunk of money. $80 toaster, sure, why not? And
Cylon toast.
yep, yep. And so I had 3 or 4 trips in a row with months and months apart. It wasn't like every weekend or anything and I kept doing it and I kept winning. And then one time I won like $600 on something. And I had somebody that had mentioned it, like, well, you're not going to win every time, right? And jokingly, I just go like, well, so far I have, but I still had that control where I'm like, well, I just stopped. I never be like, oh, now I can bet 100 or something. I just
Sure.
simply like, oh, I only brought like $20 each time, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done. See you later. I'll pay for dinner. So when you had mentioned that, I was just thinking about that with the art thing. Like, I could go to Mighty Con and sell all my sketch cards and a decent amount of prints, and people are like, "Hey, this is cool stuff," and be like, "Hey, awesome! All right, I'm going to sign up for Mighty Con in Madison in December, which I know they just announced. All right, let me
Mhm.
go to the Madison one. I can, all right, replenish, do some sketch cards, and then nobody cares in Madison.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know the pattern. I have a buddy. He does great at conventions. Um, I won't say his name, but I asked him, dude, what's your secret? And, and he said, I'm very charming, Troy. I said, well, I can't use that, man. I can't be charming. Do you have anything usable?
What
Which I thought was pretty
was
funny.
that code? Are you talking about Derek Charm?
No, that wasn't code. I mean, he's, you know,
Yeah, I
he
just
he
had
talks people up. He's chatting folks up.
I just had to go with a comic book joke for all the comic book fans out there.
I am going to do something I said I wasn't going to do, and it's been sitting for a little bit. I'm going to try and erase some of these lines very
Ooh,
gently because the drawing is essentially done now. It's just, it's got all this graphite there that's really uglying it up.
yeah.
So if I start to smear it, then future Anthony can post uh, a picture that future Troy sends you
Yes. Our
and say,
future our future friendship is really strong.
I hope so.
Yeah, we hope
All
so.
right, so far so good.
All right, I'm gonna jump out of mine just to see yours a little more. Just kind of, if something does happen, we gotta catch this moment. You gotta catch your frustration.
So somebody had said, I think it was you, Anthony, that um, that is a character that exists in your style's world. How did you say that? Um,
What were we talking about?
I don't remember.
What
I
was
think we were talking about Wolverine.
Wolverine? Yeah,
That's
which I
that's the character that exists in your style, or that
yeah,
works in the world of your style. I don't remember how you said it, but
I think that was it. Yeah,
Destroyer Duck is definitely a character that works well with the
yeah,
doodly style.
yeah. That's a mean old Bill there. I love it.
You see, they got the stogie there. I mean, I'm essentially done with mine at this point. I mean, I could continue to noodle until I ruin it, but um, you know what? I'll grab a thicker marker. I'll do like some outlines. We'll thicken it up, give it some depth.
And in the recording, I just pinned your video, which I think under the settings that I have, I think the viewer also sees it pinned rather than me doing it in the post. But because sometimes when I lean in, I always forget I can actually go bigger on these episodes when I'm not doing audio recording. Because when I do the Crimson Call Comic Club, I specifically have to have smaller windows happening because I have a lot of background stuff going on. But for
Mhm.
when we do these episodes, I can go full screen so I can see your stuff better because I'm always like leaning in.
Yeah. Well, like I intentionally set mine up so that I'm not really seeing me. Like I'm super tiny and you're big on
Okay.
mine. I don't need to see me,
Yeah.
but I guess to an extent I need to know if my drawing is showing up or not. So maybe that's not wise. for me to do. But hopefully it is showing up. This is the first time I've ever drawn Destroyer Duck. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, it's definitely showing up here. I think it definitely looks good.
And then at an angle, I guess it's not as sharp, but it'd be very hard to draw like this, because I'm essentially, to draw like that, I would be like reaching forward and drawing. So I'm looking at it at a very sharp angle.
Yeah, and I'm
So
wondering too, like with as detailed as your work gets, that I wonder if like just the camera settings and just it's naturally, it's a very busy piece. Like in a complimentary way, looking at the way you do details, it's like me looking at a Where's Waldo picture because there's so much to look at,
yeah,
things that I may not notice. And that's what I wonder too, like in the black and white stage, just with the camera focuses and just whatever quality of, I think naturally it's probably not everything is going to pop as much just because there is so much incredibly small, entertaining detail.
it's just a lot of noodling. Nothing important is there. There's absolutely nothing important. It exists for the sole purpose of being fun to do.
Exactly.
Your screen disappeared. Oh, there it is. Never mind.
Yep, I was in transfer mode. I've done a little research on the OBS Studios, which is what Rogers and I believe Fife uses that too. But to try to do what Rogers does and kind of go naturally, just put myself in a picture-in-picture and switch back and forth. But it's yeah, I don't know if I'm able to do that. I'm having some. I think I've gotten to a point with my MacBook where there's certain upgrades and things that I just cannot pull off, and I get a lot of good life out of my Apple products, whether it be the phone or the iPad and the MacBook and such. But I think I might also be getting to a point that I may need to update just so I can get some of these programs running. But
Yeah,
this still,
my iPad is pretty old, and you can tell that it's on its last legs,
Mhm.
and it's frustrating because you pay so much money for these things, and then with a few short years, um, they seem to not function the same as what they used to. It's not even a matter of it's outdated. It just doesn't work as well
Yeah,
as it once worked.
yeah. There was a time when I got Marvel Unlimited, the awesome service to like Netflix for Marvel comics, basically for people that don't know.
Right.
And great service. Pay a certain price a month, and then get access to like 75,000 plus comics, and the window of new releases gets shorter and shorter, which could be a good or bad thing. It's good for Marvel Unlimited subscribers, but I'm not sure what that does to the industry as a whole. But that's a whole nother discussion and episode.
Sure.
But the reason I was mentioning that because when I was going to commit to getting an annual subscription, realizing that my old iPad just would not go any further with updates, so I wouldn't even been able to access it until I bought a new iPad, which I got a long life out of that first one, so I was due for one anyways, and I'm still working on that one. But yeah, it does get a little frustrating when you, like you had mentioned about things being obsolete so quick. But I figured, with what I can do with Procreate and do with Zoom and do all the stuff that I'm doing right now, I'm still pulling off. I just eventually would like to get to that point, like Rogers, where I can just kind of don't have to be jumping back and forth. But Not for my sake, but maybe just for the viewer's sake. Maybe they want to see more of it. But I'm gonna see what I think I've got everything minus guitar details. But I was just looking at the hand. I think I talked about this a different time too, a different episode where I was just like looking at what we should be seeing, and I think I got it.
Yeah, that arm should be behind the guitar.
Yeah. So when I was talking about Weird Al and doing all that stuff, I went a little too crazy with the pencil erasing line. So that's all right. It's an easy fix.
It's the beauty of digital.
Yes. But yeah, I looked at it when I'm just like, there's something that's not clicking here, and it took a Troy to point it out for me. Thank you.
I think I want to go and find these Destroyer Duck comics and read them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does the creator of Howard the Duck do with a Howard the Duck comic when he's not under the restraints of a editorial staff or a publisher?
Yeah.
When it's just free reign? Is that the, you know, I don't know if it's a completely different character or if this is the Howard the Duck that he wanted to do or that he would have done if given complete freedom all along. Like, I kind of like really want to go and get Destroyer Duck comics now.
Yeah, is this the director's cut that we've all been waiting for? Yeah, I won't be able to speak on that at all, unfortunately. Kirby would, but
Actually, that Crimson podcast, talking about it, kind of made me feel a little bit salty about the topic of Howard the Duck.
all right.
There's so many stories about publishers mistreating creators.
Yeah.
I don't remember the full story though, so you know, maybe we don't get into that. But
Yeah, that to me that feels like it was many episodes ago, so it's not fresh on my brain. But yeah, I hear you.
yeah, it was not recent. I wasn't sure if that was even on an episode until you had said that, whether it was the Under the Cowl of MS or if it was Crimson Cowl.
Yeah, it does get to the point now where I just from my own memory, just being like, wait, where did we talk about that? Even when you mentioned that about well, I'm pretty sure it was Wolverine, just being like the character exists in your style, being like, was that an episode? Was that a text? Was it this? Was it an Instagram comment? Was it a?
That was our group chat.
That's where it was. Oh yeah, I alluded to this 5 hours ago, but there's some notifications because I reached out to the social medias, which normally I won't do for any of these random episodes, just because it's random. But I'm like, it might express some fun questions and topics and such. So I am going to jump over to the phone. The phone. Oh yeah, that made it sound like let's go to the phones. Let's see.
Roz, caller on line 1.
Okay, here we go. I got a couple notifications here. Let's see here. This one has nothing to do with it. It just says a text from someone that says, "You're better at Instagram than me." That's all the text says.
What? Got a text here that says you're a pretty good kisser, Anthony.
Let's see.
Other unrelated topics.
Let me get to the feed here. Here we go. I screenshotted it. So the first person that reached out, our friend Brian Lynch from Harold and his Hot Wing of Justice. Shout out to Brian Lynch. And Hot Wing of Justice. I just wanted to. I'll probably have the text on the. Here we go. You know what? Anytime I refresh my Instagram, anyways, Hot Wing of Justice is usually at the top of the page because Brian Lynch is just daily posts are just knocking out of the park, and you know, there's always Harold and his Hot Wing of Justice, a fresh one sitting there.
Yeah.
Hot Wing of Justice over on Instagram. He did send us a message. He goes, "Who's your favorite orange pumpkin shaped character that first appeared in a Hot Wing of Justice cartoon?" Now, I will say he then adds very quickly, seriously though, if you could draw and write one comic book, what would it be? So he did give a plug to his Pumpin the Pumpkin, Pumpin the Pump King, I think. His awesome pumpkin character that he debuted, I assume, last fall, last Halloween, last pumpkin season. Maybe there might be some more discussion of this pumpkin character down the road. That's for, other people to talk about.
Sure hope so.
Yes. But he goes, seriously though, if you could draw and write one comic book, what would it be? Is there anything that immediately jumped to your head?
First thing I think of is Spider-Ham.
Yes. That'd be cool.
I would love to do Trencher, Keith Giffen's Trencher. I would love to finish that. It got canceled before he was able to finish the story, so I would love to do that. And as I am drawing Destroyer Duck right now, I'm thinking, I would love to draw Destroyer Duck.
There you go.
I have a lot of interest. What about you?
Say that again. You cut out after you said you had a lot of interest.
What about you?
What about me? Let's see here. Trying to think what would have jumped now. Silver Surfer's an easy answer just because I have all the Silver Surfer comics and favorite superhero character, blah, blah, blah. But I'm also just trying to think, I'm like, do I have a passion for writing a character, drawing a character? But I think I'm going to definitely have to lean into some cartoony stuff. Like, I think it would be fun. And I always applaud the Looney Tunes being, published by DC Comics. For someone at my level of someone who has not made a comic book, it would be a fun thing to be like, hey, what if I got to, write and or draw, a Foghorn Leghorn story for a Looney Tunes issue, a one-off issue. Like, what
would
if
it
I
be Foghorn?
Yeah, I love Foghorn Leghorn, so that's like my first thought. And then also in the Looney Tunes world, I'm like, I love myself some Wile E. Coyote as well as Roadrunner. So like those are the first things that jump to mind, just because it would be fun little condensed one-off stories, small commitments as far as it's not diving into a chapter epic or anything like that. But I think that would be in my wheelhouse. It'd be fun to do some comics sometime in the future. That'd be
that would be fun.
Yeah, imagine what that would be like. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like if if I was truly given like, it would have to be something Marvel would be the route I would go, just being like, is there something that I would love to do, like a 5 issue trade paperback?
Let's say comics in general is a big question. Let's say at Marvel,
Yeah.
and then at DC, and then on Independence.
So Marvel, I don't think I'm a deep thinker enough to tell a Silver Surfer story. If I'm just thinking, if I'm like writing and drawing something, like I don't know, that's a lot of like, deep thinking, existential, mindset type of stuff.
Yeah,
So
cosmic philosopher.
yeah, yeah, like I don't think I have that kind of mindset, but it would be fun to write, whether it's Howard, Squirrel Girl, The Runaways, Spider Man. Those are the ones that I just spewed at the top of my head.
Okay.
So yeah, those are some ideas over at Marvel. If you were to do a Marvel one, we'll each take it company by company.
I'm going to stick with Spider Ham
Okay, so going
for Marvel.
doubling down on the ham.
Yeah, doubling down on Spider Ham. Trying to think what I would say. I would not want. I would lose interest terribly doing anything serious.
Okay,
So I would want something funny. Um, I don't know what I would answer for DC. I DC's got great like horror characters that they don't do a tremendous amount with, but that doesn't exactly fit the um, what I was just saying of I would want to do something silly.
yeah,
Um, and it'd be hard to do something funny with the Spectre. Um, but why not? Why not kids horror? DC kids horror.
yes, yeah. They have that awesome graphic novel line for like YA novels and stuff, and I've read several of them. There's a couple that I still have yet to read, and they're so fun just because they're out of continuity. They're just creators just doing whatever they want to do, and yeah, so that could be a line that exists like a YA or kid centric DC horror. That would be sweet. Um, so DC for me, Wonder Woman and Swamp Thing being top characters over at DC, but again with that, it's just Swamp Thing is another similar thing. I love those characters, but I don't think I'd writing a deep poetic Swamp Thing
Mm-hmm.
story. That's probably something that's not in my wheelhouse. And then Wonder Woman, same thing with I think all the dialogue and all the lore, that kind of stuff. I enjoy consuming it, but I don't think I have a talent there. So Harley Quinn is definitely something that I would lean in. How about this? A Clayface story. If there's a Clayface one shot, I love the
That would be cool.
I love the tragedy of that character. The Basil Carlo version, where he
Uh
is,
huh.
you know, uh, an ex actor. He's a movie star, and now he's turned into this disfigured clay freak show, and there's something that James Tinian the Fourth did in the opening of his awesome Detective Comics run, where he made Clayface be part of the team,
Uh
and
huh.
there was such a tragic scene of I actually had James sign that random issue because of this moment where Basil is sitting there in an empty movie theater. I think it starts with like you see all of the patrons running out of the theater and the employees, everyone's like, oh my god, there's a monster, and everyone runs out, and it's him watching like I think an old black and white movie that he starred in, and he's a giant clay face creature, and he's like taking up several rows and chairs, and he's just sitting there in sadness watching his human self right there. Like, even though that dips into some more tragedy and darkness and stuff, I
Yeah.
think because of being a big film fan and having made short films and stuff in my day, I think that would be a fun thing I would like to tackle as a one shot. So
Yeah. Um, the Archimaniacs, the Art and Franco thing, was pretty great.
yeah,
That universe would be fun to play with. I don't remember if Clayface was in there. I'm sure he was, but I
yeah.
don't recall him exactly. Excuse me.
I was trying to think if I had the right color here on Janice, and I think I want to lighten her up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's the route I'm going. Um, this is where people freak out, and then maybe Rogers is freaking out somewhere. But I talked about how I don't like doing color drops. I love just playing around with um, doing it by hand.
Hmm.
So before I
I
start,
think Rogers is more of a production decision
yeah,
on that.
oh sure, yeah. If
But
I
you
was,
can tell when he's doing his line work, it's all about having fun. The coloring is just sort of like the let's let's finish this off, and at least that's kind of how I view it.
yeah,
It
and
seems like he's like, let's just finish this off and get back to the fun part, or move on to the next fun thing.
if I have a page load and a workload that he's got for things that are actually going to be published, like here I am. This is the relaxing moment where I'm just like coloring it, staying. I can go out of the lines because I got to color the hair and stuff yet, but I do like just going in there and just doing my thing. Um, we said our DC stuff. Independent. Is that what we're on here?
Yes. Well, like I had mentioned, Trencher, but another one, Mighty Magnor, was published by Sergio Aragones and Mark Evanier.
Okay.
Am I pronouncing his? I've never heard his name pronounced. I assume it's Evanier.
Your
Um,
your word is as good as mine on this one.
yeah, but he they did this with Malibu Comics. I think it was like 4 issues or so, but it's a good visual. Um, the comic itself, like, it's a really great visual. The artwork is wonderful. I did not think the story was very good because the story, what it was, and I'm not being. I hope that neither one of them will ever see this, but what it was is that the comic book character came into the real world, and it was the adventures of a comic book character in the real world momentarily.
Okay.
But it just fell flat. But it was such a cool character and such a cool design and everything. I wanted to see the comic books that the comic book character was in. So I would like to do something with that. And I actually reached out to him one time. Um, the I'll tell you off camera the exact response, but nope was the answer.
All right.
I know.
I'm just if anyone's watching me being like, "Hey, colored outside the lines," so I'm just writing a
Oh,
note there because I'm going to color the guitar, so that's going to go away. But I didn't mean to distract from what you were saying. That was just a fun thing I just decided to throw in there.
I gotcha.
Anyways,
No, so I did reach out to Mark and asked him, "Hey, you guys doing anything with this? Feel like I work with a publisher that I'm 99.9% sure would print it,
yeah,
and if if there's anybody out there that could pull this off, other than Sergio, I feel like, I have a decent shot at it, as decent a shot as anybody else, because I doodle quite a bit, and Sergio's art is very doodly. I'm not comparing myself to him, mind you, just saying, I could, and I sent even a sample to him, and he was complimentary of the artwork, and but very don't you dare. Don't you even try it.
I had much restraint there, because when you're saying like I doodle and doodle, you said doodle a couple times. I'm going to say it here, and then I'm going to cut to a clip. But there's a great line from Willow Rosenberg, played by Allison Hannigan on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where she goes,
"What is this? A doodle? I do doodle. You too. You do doodle too."
So people will hear that, and people will see the clip probably that I'll get off of YouTube. So.
Cool.
I just had to do that because you said doodle a lot of times, and then all I could think about was Allison Hannigan.
See, I like that word, in descriptive of artwork. But I think it was Rogers mentioned that he felt like calling drawings doodles minimizes their the work that goes into it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to, as you know, think up a studio name, like an art studio name, and I like doodles, but I really don't want to. I don't want to minimize the work that goes into something, because as is, when you sell a commission, you're oftentimes, the work that you put into it, you're oftentimes working for way less than minimum wage, unless you have a big name and you're able to command decent money for them. But for most of us, you're working for way less than minimum wage, and then people still try and talk you down on price. So I don't want to I wouldn't want to use a name like Doodle, even though I like it, that would minimize the effort involved, make it seem like it's just a willy-nilly thing. Doodling is hard, man.
I hear you. Yeah, but the difficulty of trying to think of that name while you prefer the doodle, but it makes sense in the long run too, why you would stay away from that. But so before I get distracted, we had a notification here. We have a lot of questions. Okay, so we'll probably, I think, maybe end on this, unless I had lingering questions, which I'll find. But Brad Gibson, Brad, our friend,
Brad,
who often comments talking about that he draws along with us as he watches our episodes. Good job, Brad.
Which is exactly what we want, Brad. That's awesome. You rock.
So I haven't read these. I'm cold reading them here. Brad goes, "What do you find the hardest thing for you to draw?" For me, it's drawing someone riding a bike.
Never tried to draw somebody riding a bike. I bet that is hard.
Yeah, when I think of riding a bike and something drawing, the only way I'm doing that is it's probably going to be my favorite scene from any Muppets movie, which is from The Great Muppet Caper, when all the Muppets are riding bikes through the park, and so I'm like, if I were ever to draw a bike, it would only because I'm drawing Muppets on a bike. So. Hardest thing for you to draw.
Horses are difficult, and I think the thing that's hard on horses is also hard on dogs. It's the back legs of animals, where an animal that has the back leg where the joint is, I guess, sort of backwards from a human joint. like the knee bends forward instead of backwards. For some reason, that top part of that animal's leg, I guess like you'd equate it to like the chicken thigh. If you're looking like a chicken cortlet, it's the thigh portion, the big chunky part at the top. That is for some reason hard for me to draw. Don't know why. It's like if the animal isn't sitting down, that's a hard thing to draw.
I could see that, and I've drawn a tiger laying down. That was easy. I've drawn a giraffe standing up, but that one I did pretty. That one I did. I think I did pretty good on that one. But yeah, I can't think of any other situations. I haven't drawn a horse. The
Mhm.
horse and cars are, I think, a lot of artists is what those are the go-to answers probably.
Mhm.
I know.
Yeah, I don't like using anything. I don't like to draw anything that I have to use a ruler for.
There you go.
So, actual perspective, like I'll draw fake perspective all day long,
Yeah.
distorted, wonky perspective, but anything with a ruler that needs to look like super good. Cars are hard. Technical things are hard. Attractive people are hard. It's easier to draw normal people than like super great looking people.
Is that why you've drawn me several times? Hey, come on.
Shut up, Anthony.
I had to take that opportunity.
uh, future Anthony, take that answer out. That's I don't want to answer to that.
No, I hear you, and that's why, like, any of the women I've drawn, I would have to look through my art gallery, but everything I've done has been very like cartoony. Like I've definitely drawn a lot of Betty Cooper and stuff like that. Like, but if I were to
Right.
draw Lily Reinhardt, that's a whole different story. Where I'm like, well, now I have to draw a realistic human being who is
Yeah.
immensely attractive, and I'm like, I would have to just do a cartoon version of her. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
She's very ugly woman, Lily Reinhardt. Just
yeah, it's just tough to.
disgusting. It's all I can't eat before seeing a show with her in it. Even
Yeah,
sometimes she's on commercials and I start to just a little bit
yeah,
because I can't.
when she pops up on a TV show or a movie, that's when it turns to a podcast to me, where I just turn the other way and I just listen to what's happening.
Yeah,
'Cause
I think that's wise. It's better. It's better that way.
and there's definitely some post Anthony subtitles going on here saying we are joking, we are joking, we are joking.
Bull
Uh,
crap. Bull crap.
maybe I'll put the hold on here. This will be a funny comic book related joke. You're just gonna have to
Okay.
wait. You're gonna have to wait about 7 seconds for it to happen.
All right.
It's totally gonna be worth it. And then post Anthony doesn't have to do anything because after we just said all that, we just get lying. Lying. There's your nice
Yes.
saga reference. Lying.
Lying. Lying.
Once I was doing it,
Nice.
I'm like, we haven't heard that voice, so I don't even know what it sounds like. So it sounded weird, but all right,
Good as any other voice.
there we
Any
go.
other questions from him? You
Yeah,
said there were questions, plural.
yes. And he had said difficult for drawing, and me, I'm like, I haven't been in a position where I've only drawn things that I want to draw and know I could draw. I've never done anything and stopped being like, I can't draw this. So yeah, I don't. I don't think I would have anything beyond the obvious where I'm just like I wouldn't want to draw a car. There's no reason for me unless I'm drawing Tim Burton's Batmobile or something. But
Hmm.
pretty much, yeah. He goes, "Is there something in drawing? Hold on here. Is there something in drawing you are working on learning or improving?" So there we go. Is there like a skill? Is there something that you have in your process of drawing that you are working on or learning on improving? For him, um, he goes, "For me, I'm just, I'm going to start over here. For me, I have working on Okay, so it wasn't me. Hold on. For me, I have been working on having characters look different and have unique faces. So basically, if he's kind of drawing certain things, and maybe some things are just being similar and doing similar noses and eyes. So, is there something for you in your drawing process that you are trying to work on or just trying to improve on?
Yes, and you go first. I'm going to look for an example
Cool,
to
cool.
show.
For me, it would definitely be poses, trying to learn how to just take a blank page and just have at her. Now, not that referencing is bad. Matt Rogers always talking about, hey, don't feel bad about using references. Even the best artists, you got Alex Ross. Look at Alex Ross, he's got, take photographs of whether it's him in Captain America poses or he hires friends to draw up his characters and paints from them. So it's not me being like, I just don't want to use reference anymore. I just want to have kind of what you did there, where you just pretty much you start fresh and you just draw it and then you just let it go. And yeah, you did go for reference on your Destroyer Duck for whatever, but like I want to get to that point where I'm just for Janice, rather than me being like, how does one hold the guitar? I just want to be like, yeah, so when you just got your hands out and the guitar looks like this, and then maybe I'll tweak reference, with a reference or something. But that's what I
Hmm.
want to improve on, where I can just someone puts a blank card in front of me and goes, hey, can you draw me Spider-Man? I'd be like, okay, how does he swing? What does his costume look like? I have so many comics of him, but I just don't I want to have that skill where I'm like, yeah, I can draw Spider-Man, and here it is. You know,
I can give you some advice on that.
yeah,
It's not my advice. Mike Hoffman does a lot of like fantasy art type stuff. So you'll see him. He's got a lot of comic work, but he's also done. He's on eBay. He's very prolific on eBay. He does Frazetta-ish sketches for people, and he'll do. Uh, he's more in the vein of like a Frank Frazetta or a Mark Schultz type of artist, more so than a cartoon artist. But he's got a book on drawing tips,
okay,
and there's a part in that book. And forgive me here if not that he's watching it, but this may not have been his book. I think it was his book, but he talks about um, exercising, working out, and knowing your body and knowing what it feels like to make different poses so that whenever you close your eyes and you visualize drawing it, you can imagine what it feels like. Okay, my shoulder would be here. My
yeah,
elbow would be pressed against this. This part of my stomach if I was holding a guitar or would be sticking out, whatever it was. But his recommendation on that was, if I'm correct, that it was indeed Mike Hoffman, was to exercise, know your body so that you can visualize how your body would do a specific pose, um, and then use that as your imaginary reference for something.
I like that.
Um, I don't really use that myself,
Yeah,
but if it's helpful for him, maybe it's helpful for someone else.
I've
Um,
I've definitely taken selfies if I just needed being like for the peaceful creature from the Black Lagoon, where there's a photo of me wearing the creature mask because I just did it for fun. That wasn't for the
uh,
photo. I already had that existed photo. So then I'm
uh-huh.
just like, oh hey, I'm like, I have that. I'll just draw the actual reference of myself. And it was just the idea of like just like, okay, if I'm holding this up, the thumbs on this side, like I
Yeah.
needed that, but rather than looking at Google, I just like, oh, I'll just snap a photo of myself. And so,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, but I like that idea of kind of having that muscle memory of your own muscles in a way of
Yeah.
it's based on how your own body moves. And yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I gotta go work out. Great.
Darn it, another thing to do. For me, it's line quality. And it has been line quality for so long. Some people, I feel like, pick up line quality really easy. Not the case with me. I'm not able to do pretty brush strokes and things like that. And here is a sheet full of, and there's a like a doodle. I think it's a doodle of myself in there somewhere, but there's let's see, there's sections where I'm just working on feathering and trying to get a thin and a thick line and going from thick to thin. And I have done hundreds and hundreds of pages full of nothing but just brush strokes.
Really?
Me trying to get the quality of lines, and I'm still stuck with doing very linear line quality. So that would have been my answer to that question. What are you working on? That would have been my answer 5 years ago, and it probably is going to be my answer in another 5 years. That's something that I really struggle with. I can't get it down. So I keep, like I said, keep working on it, and I have done hundreds of these.
And that's one thing that I should start doing, where I think it was Kevin Wolf that said it. Yeah, I think Kevin Wolf said where that he just drew hands for an exercise, where he's just like, "Yep, I'm just going to draw a page of hands," and he just kept drawing hands and hands and hands and hands, and that's something that I've never really practiced anything. I guess just with going in as the hobby artist and just having fun with it. Like, I probably skipped a lot of steps as far as just like the proper learning. There's probably no proper learning. Everyone comes to art in their own way, and some person could be a great tester, or they could be a great student but an awful tester. Like school wise and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I was drawing a blank. I'm like, what is?
Like they're awful at tests. They're
I get it now.
Oh yeah, I'm great at the homework and answering the questions and doing this and that. But if I'm thrown there under pressure, and I'm a bad tester, like that's probably relative to art too, where someone's way of learning how to draw something is not going to be somebody else's way of learning. And so I think,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
Jamie Cosley, on one of his videos, I don't know if it was him and Art together or if it was just him, but he was talking about it. You got Cosley? Oh yeah,
got all of Art's from when they hung out. And did all the random
including
stuff.
Rude Ronald McDonald.
Yep. It just happened to be right here when you mentioned it, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it was on that episode, actually, that they were talking about when he graduated from drawing with Sharpies to using a brush pen. And even though I knew deep down in my heart of hearts that I would not use this for this show, I put it on the table right in front of me, my brush pen that I am awful with, in the hopes that one day you'll see me using this. But I would love to sit down and just like talk to him. And when you see somebody that does what you really like as far as like line work or whatever, that's the person you want to like be like, any pointers? Because we know that he transitioned. He did everything in Sharpie and he moved over to using these brush pens. So give me some pointers, man. I'm babbling. Nope. Brush pen, Jamie Cosley, good, Troy, bad.
And D. Brad also says, "How do you relax?"
I doodle.
I would say a year ago, I probably wouldn't. Well, I guess I'll say 3 years ago, I would have just been like, "Oh, I put on the same Marvel movie that I've literally seen 50 times,
Hmm.
and sit there and just watch and watch and watch." But now,
Hmm.
I may put that Marvel movie on, but I'm listening to it because I'm drawing. The last 3 years, simply, is just like, "Yep, I'm gonna go draw," rather than just sit
And
and watch and do nothing.
it's great to find those things that are good passive watches. Either something like the movie that you've seen 1,000 times,
Yeah,
and you just still enjoy the story, but you can listen without watching,
yeah,
or a show where there's a lot of snappy back and forth banter, but you don't need to actually watch it.
yeah,
So it's funny because I find like my watching preferences change, or well, they don't change. They're very different from like my coworkers. When we talk about a show, they might mention, "Man, the special effects and the graphics in this movie were so good," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to actually watch it. I'm going to listen to it."
sure,
Like
sure.
that movie, uh, the little Mexican boy that wants to be a mariachi, uh,
Uh,
and his mother, Coco.
Coco, yes, Coco.
Co- we did Coco as a family movie night, and my wife was kind of upset with me because I wasn't. She didn't think I was watching it because I had a drawing pad and everything, and I was drawing, but I was in there, and she's like, "You're not with us." But like when it got to the emotional part, I got tears rolling down my face and everything, and I was like, "No, I am fully invested in this movie. It's just working. It's working for me that I don't have to be visually, into it in order to appreciate it." So I do like to also watch movies. I enjoy doodling while watching documentaries, because there's oftentimes a lot a lot of the story is told by like a historian talking and telling the story, more so than like the actors acting parts of it out. So you can get a lot from things like that as well.
Yeah, that'll be another source too. If I'm hunkering down to draw something that, it could be the same documentary that I've seen many a times, and just
Mhm.
I'll put on old episodes of famous cartoonist draws things, and it's stories
Mhm.
I've heard so many times from Art, whether I've seen it many times or he's told it multiple times, but I listen to him like it's like a great record, where I'm just like, "Oh, all right, he's telling this story about, Jurassic Ernie again." I'm like, I love this story, like things
Yeah.
like that where it just, I know what's going on, I know the punchline, and I'm here for it. Just, you got his son Gordy's music playing in the background. It's all just
Yeah.
vibes. So,
Keith Giffen's podcast is great for that too. I'm Not Dead Yet.
I don't think I knew
People will
about that.
ask him questions. Oh, you got to look it up. You got to look it up, because at the end, or at some point in there, somebody will say, "Hey, tell the monkey story," and he'll tell like this crazy story about when he worked as like a delivery guy for like an animal testing facility, and just like the dude has lived through some crazy stuff. He talked about when he met Muhammad Ali at one point. I was like, oh,
And it's all
it's
an audio podcast.
it's on YouTube.
Ooh,
On
cool.
YouTube,
I'm
I'm
always,
Not Dead Yet. So
I'm
you can
always,
watch. It's him and his son-in-law talking and answering fans' questions. But you don't really need to watch it to enjoy it. You can
yeah,
listen
yeah.
to it and get as much.
Yeah, I definitely, that would be something up my alley. So I'm making a note of that here so I don't forget. Um, so then yeah, so we answered that. I think, let me just double check because we're going to be wrapping it up here. Um, This is a good one to wrap up on. I was just double checking, making sure other people didn't say things. If I missed it, I apologize. I'll see it and save it for a future recording. Um, but D. Brad also says, "What is a motto you live by?"
Hmm.
I have an ongoing positivity motto. Something that some close friends have told me about. A lot of that I think comes from Kevin Smith. Following being a huge fan of Kevin Smith, he often talks about he's just like, well, I don't love everything. You just don't hear about the stuff I don't like. And while I do, everyone's opinion on things are valid. If they don't like a movie that they paid for, they have a right to not enjoy it. And there's definitely movies I've seen and paid for that I didn't care about, but you probably never hear about them just because I'm like, I could spend 5, 10 minutes talking about that, but I'm like, I'd rather tell you about this, the story about Art Baltazar, how he told, like
Yeah.
I'll find something that I would much rather just be entertained by. So a lot of
Focus on the positivity.
yeah, so I have a very big positive motto, and in the I'll say this: I did a long-running podcast called the AB Conversation with my good friend Brent, and there's a handful of episodes that are available on iTunes. Due to a free account, we can only have a certain number available at a time, but the 10 or 12 most recent ones are up there from years ago. There's been a couple new ones in the last year or two, but in that podcast, I think in our quote unquote last episode back in like 2016, 2017, whatever it was, 2018, he uh he had mentioned something along the lines of him feeding off of the positivity that I would talk about in all my reviews, and he would have, criticisms and things once again which are valid, but he had just kind of called it out where he just kind of looked at things in a different way of just being like, "Oh, why am I griping about this when I could be, you know, being happy about this or something?" And he had said something along those lines that that positivity was infectious.
Yeah,
Something,
and
yeah,
it is. It is, Anthony, and it makes you only have so much energy to expel during the day, and you really do have a choice what to use that energy with. Do you want to use it to rally against the thing that you don't like or don't understand,
yeah,
or do you want to use it to build up the thing that you do like and you're into?
yeah,
And you choose to use it to build up the things that you do like, and the things that you don't like, they're just not. Why would any of us, and I'm guilty of being negative very often, but why do we do that? Give energy to things that we don't want to be involved with. Why would we spend any time? It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
And I almost debated even saying that because even acknowledging that I mostly talk about positive things is also acknowledging that I don't, and it's almost a way of me like complaining about people complaining, which I didn't get to that level, but that's still complaining, but it's a positive way of complaining in a way, just being like, well, why are you
I
so
didn't
negative?
I didn't pick that up.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't I didn't get that from that.
there is a
And
route that I could take with that, but also it's just like, nah, even that it's just like, they didn't like the new Little Mermaid, whatever. But why do they keep, asking me why I liked it or calling me a
Mhm,
shill or that I'm paid by Disney or that I'm, just
mhm,
like there's somebody at the theater that made a comment at a local theater. I was going to see what I see like all the new movies basically, and it was the second week that Little Mermaid had come out, and they jokingly just kind of said like, "Oh, what do you see in Little Mermaid?" Like joking like maybe it didn't do well at the box office or this or that or I'm an almost 40-year-old man, so of course I wouldn't be seeing that or something. I'm like, "Oh
mhm.
no," I'm like, "I saw that last week on opening night. I loved it. I bought a couple of the songs, and now I'm seeing this new movie because it just came out." And then it was kind of like there was a moment of just like, oh, like, okay, like like maybe it wasn't the reaction they were expecting,
I was trying to shame you, and
Yeah.
you seem rather comfortable with
but
your
instead
life.
I'm just like, oh yeah, I bought some of the music, and I'll probably, I'll watch it on Disney Plus. Maybe I'll buy the Blu-ray.
You should be uncomfortable with what I'm uncomfortable with.
There we go.
That's what they're saying. Is like,
But
I'm made uncomfortable, and therefore so should you. That, I guess that gets to mine. I don't actually have one,
yeah,
but I tell my kids very often, live and let live.
there you go.
I say that often. So, and then there's also on rotation in the music in our car is Live and Let Die.
There you go.
So, to which my daughter often says whenever I say, I say live and let live. She'll say, I say live and let die.
Awesome. But yeah,
So, good questions, D. Brad.
yeah,
Oh
coming
yeah,
in.
D. Brad.
Normally I wouldn't pull questions for an episode like this because it's a random thing, but I'm like, hey, we can do whatever we want, and I thought
That's
that
right.
might be a topic starter as well, and here we are.
Right on.
Okay.
So,
Well,
go ahead.
at the end of episodes, we show off our work. If you want to show off what you had finished with your, or where you got with your Destroyer Duck.
So I'm pretty much finished with it. If I do anything, I will add, just like in this empty area behind him, just some blue marker. Sometimes I like to do that, but I think I'm pretty much done. The first time I've ever drawn Destroyer Duck, and I like it.
I was gonna say that's a heck of a first time. So, cool.
Now I'm gonna read Destroyer Duck. I have the first issue somewhere, and hopefully I don't like it because I'm really not in a position to go on a 30-year-old comic book buying spree.
Sure.
I don't think that one has made it to trade paperbacks.
Yeah, that one's probably going to be a little more of a challenge to.
Yeah.
And then this is where we look at my art, which I'm definitely putting up right here on the screen. That we're going to ooh and ah over the finished Janice. Man, isn't this great, Troy? Don't you like what you're seeing right now?
Ooh,
This actual
so
image.
pretty.
Yeah, the
It
choice
is.
I made with that part.
It
And
is
then
very Janicey. It's
yeah,
one of
then
the most Janicey Janices I've seen in a while. It's
that's right. And
wonderful.
it's so great. I'm glad that I finished that in completion on this episode, enough for both of us just to sit there and wonder. So,
Not only are you talented and wise, you're also very fast.
oh well, thank you. I try to learn from the best. Matt Rogers very fast, and that's probably But I will show this off.
That's funny. I try to learn from the best, but since he's not here, you'll do.
I don't know if those words were in the right order, but you get the picture. So,
No, I like it. I like it. You're
all
not
right.
wrong.
Yep. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for what ended up being an awesome episode. I think there's less pressure as far as like, hey, we're just chilling. There's some moments of silence here and there, but I dig these episodes. I like them.
Yeah, they're fun.
I would have
They're
been
fun.
doing this drawing thing with that, Avengers Age of Ultron playing in the background for the 75th time. That would have been my evening, but instead, I was hanging out with Troy, drawing and talking. So,
Yeah, and if I can, my kids don't watch the show. I'm gonna say that now. But on the off chance that they do watch the show, what a treat! What they've been so well behaved. They've been around and letting me do my thing for a moment. They know that tomorrow is family day and we're going to go out and they're going to have my undivided attention. But what well-behaved children I have today.
yeah, that went pretty well.
Yeah, they did good. Could you tell that they were running around?
Honestly, because you had said something beforehand, don't want to, break the magic of, what was happening, but you had just gave a warning that it could possibly be a noisy background. based on just it's very random episode today with the timing and the recording.
Yeah.
And
Relax, man.
And when we had started, I could hear some of that, but literally I had not thought about it, not even a second in this last 2 hours. And when you mentioning it right now, it'd just be like, oh yeah, it was really quiet.
So let's do this. On the off chance that they watch this, kids, thank you. I'll take you to the store and get you a Slurpee, but you have to tell me that I promised on the video.
Look at that. And hit like and
So,
subscribe. Okay,
it's like a coupon for a free Slurpee.
There we go. Yeah. Right now it's a no prize, but in the future it could be something. So
that's right. 30 years from now. Hey, Dad.
Let's end on that note. This is this is a great ending right here. Well, if you look over here, the sun's starting to come up, so I think it's time to get back to our day jobs.
Sounds good. Ow!